Hey guys, L.C.Holt here, and this is my update for the week of October 1st. I have a very special guest sitting to my immediate right. This is Shane Gillis. Shane, how you doing, man?
Good.
Now,
Good.
Shane was the composer and co-producer of my film Spiritus, which is right over here. There you go, that film right there.
This is like Monster Chiller Horror Theater.
Yeah, look at this shit. Spiritus. And it's going to be available for all of you to own later on this month. It's already heading out probably by the time you see this to the folks that pre-ordered it. But today we're going to talk about another movie, not Spiritus. We're going to talk about John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness?
Yeah.
I thought,
no Prince of Darkness?
I thought Prince of Persia.
Oh, damn. Lawrence of Arabia. Peter O'Toole. He's pretty scary. You know, I
haven't seen Prince of Darkness, so.
Oh, fuck. Well, we may not be talking about Prince of Darkness. This was the intention, was to talk about Prince of Darkness, the seminal John Carpenter classic from 1987, produced through Alive Films, Alice Cooper's company. Now, Alice Cooper got together with his manager, a guy named Shep Gordon, and they decided... Supermensch, yeah. And these Supermenches, they decided... Supermenches? Is that the plural? We're going to say that's the plural. They decided they were going to make films, and so they created this company called Alive Films. And they signed a multi-picture deal with Mr. John Carpenter, who at that point had just made a movie called Starman, starring Jeff Bridges, which had been nominated for all kinds of Academy Rewards. Now, I know a little bit about Hollywood and the kind of people you got to deal with in Hollywood, right? So I know that the folks, yeah, that's right. That movie back there is proof. You're next.
I thought that's who you dealt with.
That's the kind of people, like this guy is nice compared to some of the Hollywood people. I'd rather deal with him. But so John had just made an Academy Award nominated movie. And these Hollywood guys are like, great, we welcomed you into our club. And John's like, I don't care. My next movie is going to be called Prince of Darkness. And then the Hollywood people decided, well, we don't like John Carpenter anymore. He don't want to be one of us. And so he never got that kind of acclaim again. But I think he did all right, even without the Hollywood snobbery. What do you think, Shane?
Yes. Prince of Darkness is my third favorite Carpenter film.
What's the first two?
Well, Halloween's my favorite movie of all. And then The Thing is the second favorite Carpenter film. And then Prince of Darkness is the third.
Good call.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say that's probably about the same for me, honestly.
A lot of people don't like it.
I thought you were going to say your number one film was Ghosts of Mars.
Well, that's, yeah.
Well,
you know, it's funny on the commentary for Prince of Darkness from Peter Jason's on there. He says that is this not for Ghost of Mars? And then I thought I was listening to the wrong thing. I was like, I don't want to listen to that.
No, God, no, you don't want to listen. I mean, I'm not trying to put down Ghosts of Mars or anything, but I mean, it's Ghosts of Mars. I'm sure people will get on here and be like, what are you talking about, Ghost of Mars? That was a masterpiece. It was the best movie ever did. Halloween sucked.
Next to The Ward.
Now, The Ward wasn't, I didn't think that was that bad. You didn't like The Ward?
Everybody was just too pretty.
There were a lot of pretty
mental patients.
Yeah, well, that's true. There were a lot of pretty patients in that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't finish it, though.
Amber Heard was in that.
I don't think he cared much about directing anymore when he made that one. He just kind of made it.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think that?
I think he was well into rather be playing Xbox on the couch mode when he made that one. He's kind of admitted that, you know.
Yeah, he likes the Xbox and basketball. I think is what he would prefer to do above Prince of Darkness 2, say. But I'm glad at this time he was still really into the whole thing of making films, because he was still making some really interesting movies. They Live was the second film he did with Alive. So there were two kind of classics, and probably They Live is known a little bit more than Prince of Darkness.
Is that the second one with Peter Jason?
Yeah. Yeah, because The Prince of Darkness was the first
Right.
film he did with Peter Jason. Peter Jason plays in this movie a character named Dr. Leahy, which I love that name.
And in Prince of Darkness, he plays mouth trombone.
That's right. Yeah. He is
I can't do
that. He's got the awesome mouth trumpet thing.
And the thing with the apple.
Yeah. You can't fake that shit.
Nah, that was good.
Yeah.
Skills.
Well, let's talk about how this movie starts out, because it has an opening that I think is really creepy. I remember as a kid thinking that opening shot of the old man laying there in the bed and just the way that he dies just seemed kind of like what I would imagine an old man dying would be as a 12-year-old watching this movie, you know?
And as my wife points out, it is the longest credit sequence of any movie in existence.
Yeah, I talked to Wingard.
It's like 10 minutes into it and still names are popping up.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because one time I was talking to Adam Wingard, and I was talking about how I always wanted to make a movie like Prince of Darkness, and what I call like people trapped in a tin can kind of movie. You know, where it's like a Night of the Living Dead type scenario. You know, people that wouldn't ordinarily be trapped together.
Right.
And then something is trying to get at them. And he was like, Prince of Darkness, which one is that? And I was like, it was the one with Donald Pleasance, which didn't really narrow it down.
Oh, it's the one with Donald Pleasance playing Loomis.
Yeah.
That doesn't narrow it down either.
It doesn't narrow it down. Yeah, it's the one where Donald Pleasance has a bunch of monologues about evil. It doesn't.
Where does that Father Loomis come from? Because I see that he's just credited as priest, right?
Priest.
But every time I read about it, he's called Father Loomis. And I never hear it. Maybe somebody says it, but I've never.
I don't think they do.
I miss it if they do.
I don't think they do. I think maybe in the script it said Loomis. I don't know.
I never hear anybody say it. But.
I don't know. But yeah, so that was how Wingard, he recognized it. He was like, oh, well, you're talking about the one with the 15-minute credit sequence. And I was like, yeah, that one. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know that. That's cool. And great score.
I love it.
I'm glad he still performs that with his band too, because that's a great score.
That's kind of that's one of the first things we ever talked about when we started talking about
working together.
Yep.
Yep.
That score came up.
Yeah. This movie actually has a lot. There are a lot of references in Prince of Darkness to a film that obviously influenced John Carpenter, an old black and white British serial called Quatermain and the Pit, which also influenced Stephen King when he wrote The Tommyknockers,
right.
Which is essentially the same sort of thing. Which is in the old British serial, they find a ship of some kind underneath London, and the actual finding of it affects the minds of the people around. And then eventually you discover that the images of hell and demons that we know are actually projections into our minds of an alien race. Mm-hmm. And they are actually what we think of as demons, which is a pretty cool idea. And Prince of Darkness kind of takes off on that idea a little bit. And I mean, it's kind of obvious. You have John Carpenter taking writing credit as Martin Quatermain, So yeah, Martin Quatermass, yeah. And then beyond that, there is the character of Brian says he goes to Neil College. He previously went to Neil College, and he has a shirt that says Neil on it. And Nigel Neal is the guy that wrote Quatermain.
I've heard that Quatermass was not happy about the.
Why do I keep calling it Quatermain? I don't know. I'm thinking of that fucking movie with Sean Connery. Didn't he play a character named Quatermain in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Alan Quatermain or something? Anyway, sorry.
I heard he wasn't happy about the tribute though, because he didn't like the movie.
Oh, Nigel Neal didn't like this movie,
right.
Prince of Darkness?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
It might not be true.
Well, you know what could have, because originally Nigel Neal wrote the first draft of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and they threw it out because they didn't like it.
Maybe that's why he didn't.
I think maybe that's why he didn't like Prince of Darkness. He's like, you didn't take my script. I fucking hate your movie. How dare you? Yeah. which that's an interesting piece of trivia. But even in spite of that, John Carpenter threw a lot of like mad nods at him in this movie, which is cool because there is obviously a but let's talk about kind of the plot of this movie now that we've talked about the plot of Quatermass, and the Pit, not Quatermain. I think I'm having a small stroke. So anyway, that aside,
I'm having a weird dream right now.
Yeah.
Are you?
I think it has something to do with that cylinder back there. Who brought that? I'm not sure.
It's here. I got here.
Anyway.
It's been here for 7 million years. Remember that?
I did. I carbon dated that lid.
7 million.
7 million years. That's a long time. Wow. It's looking pretty good though for 7 million. I polished it up. I thought I saw it dripping upward a minute ago, but we'll try and forget about that for just a moment.
Let me look up and open my mouth.
Yeah, don't do that. You might get a pressure washer shot straight down into your gullet. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, part of the plot of this movie is after that priest dies in the bed at the beginning of it, he's holding a little, what would you call that? A little chest?
Yeah.
Little box. And the box is then found along with a diary by Donald Pleasance's character, Priest, or Father Loomis, depending on what you want to call it. We'll go with Father Loomis. Do you want to do that, or you want to say Priest?
Yeah.
We'll say Father Loomis. So Father Loomis finds this chest and a diary, and he reads the diary, which is talking about something called the Brotherhood of Sleep. And I don't think he's aware of it until he reads the diary. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the dying priest withheld some useful information
in the diary
that they had to learn.
Yeah,
in the heat of the moment.
Right, because what will you find out is that the Brotherhood of Priests,
Quatermain,
the Brotherhood of Quatermain in the Pit. I swear I haven't been drinking anything but coffee. Cheers. But what you find out in the movie is that this Brotherhood of Sleep, that they are looking after a church, a seemingly abandoned church in this city, where
lots of candles are lit by somebody.
Yeah, somebody is in this damn thing lighting so many damn candles.
Yeah.
And so Father Loomis goes down there because this key opens a door to the basement of this church. And what he finds down there is a hell of a lot of candles and a cylinder that has some sort of spinning liquid in it. Not unlike what you see behind us there.
Dream again.
But so anyway, he then gets in contact with the guy from Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, Victor Wong.
Victor Wong, who in this movie is Professor Barack.
My wife said, is that the guy from Karate Kid?
Is that Mr. Miyagi?
What?
He plays Professor Miyagi.
And then I showed my kids pictures of them side by side. I said, does he look like him? And they said, he looks identical. I'm
really?
What?
How is that possible?
What's wrong with this house?
There's no way. No, Victor Wong has a very unusual look.
Yeah.
He has the one little bitty eye and the one really big eye, and he's got that sort of scruffy little.
Bell's palsy. He had a lot of things. He had some things happen as a kid that paralyzed side of his face.
Really? I didn't know that.
He had all kinds of trouble.
Great look.
Yeah.
And it's kind of worth noting that the character he plays in Prince of Darkness is not unlike the character that he played in Big Trouble in Little China. And Dennis Dunn plays a character that's practically identical. I mean, you could probably interchange the character he played in Big Trouble in Little China with Prince of Darkness, and it would be the same guy.
Yeah.
Because both of these guys were in, obviously John Carpenter made this movie, Big Trouble in Little China, and was like, I love those guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to write something for them. And they're going to do the same thing in the next movie.
Which I always love people that work with the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
It's always.
Yeah. Well, I've had a whole career thanks to that.
Yeah.
There's a great kind of Big Trouble in Little China shot in this movie, too, where Victor Wong, where they're trapped in the room and he puts the chopstick in his mouth and he takes the soda can and that one little quick shot It's like, that is such a Big Trouble in Little China shot.
And it worked.
Yeah, it actually does work. But I'm jumping ahead again. So Professor Miyagi, he actually teaches quantum physics. And we could probably do a whole video
He
about.
also runs Arnold's Diner.
He does. God, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
He's busy.
Why wasn't the Fonz in this movie?
No.
But Professor Miyagi, Professor Barack Obama, goes to, he gets, because his name is Barack. Barack?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically Barack with an I instead of an A
Yeah.
at the beginning. Long before Barack Obama, of course. So Barack Obama stole his name from Prince of Darkness.
This is his favorite movie.
Yeah, we have to put that out there. But anyway, he teaches quantum physics at a unnamed university. And he has a whole class full of people. And a lot of them you will be important in the story, but the most important people in the story is this character named Brian Marsh. He's kind of the main character of the story. And he's played by Jameson Parker.
AJ Simon.
Yeah. Yeah, and this guy he's got the world's most crooked mustache. And he sort of looks like
but
John.
It's real.
It is real.
It is real.
It's real. And he looks kind of like John Carpenter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you took the long hair off, the mustache and everything, looks kind of like how John Carpenter looked at the time.
A little trivia about AJ Simon.
Okay.
He hasn't acted in a long time, but he was defending his wife's honor against his neighbor who had said something to her. He kind of got in a fight with the neighbor, and the neighbor shot him in the armpit.
What?
Yeah.
No shit.
Shot him in the armpit.
That's true?
Yeah, it's true.
That's crazy. So is he all right?
Yeah. He just doesn't act anymore.
Through and through?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Carpenter talks about that on the, well, he doesn't go into detail about it on the commentary, but he mentions that he got shot, and then I read some into it. He got shot in the armpit.
Wow. And how long ago was this? Was this after the movie shortly?
Yeah, this is either late 90s or early 2000s or something, but I don't think he's acted since like 2004 or something like that.
Huh. Lisa Blunt, the female lead, have you seen her lately?
No.
Because she has an interesting kind of way about her. She plays this character, Catherine Danforth. Yeah. And she's they're the male and female leads. It's an ensemble cast, but you could say if there are leads in the movie other than Professor Miyagi and Priest Loomis, then it would be Catherine and Brian.
And they fall in love after one night.
They do. They sleep together. She has some sort of a traumatic thing going on in her past having to do with her relationship with men, which is never really gone into, but it's kind of cool that it's not gone into, I think, because, you don't really need the explanation. And it's kind of better in a way to just know, okay, she has some troubles going on. But they do kind of fall for each other. He's a confirmed sexist, as he says, which is a line I dare you to try to put in a movie nowadays. Yeah, it is.
He does say that.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Yeah, we talk about numbers and you get romantic.
Talk
about people.
You clam
up. That's right. And then
who's the guy that gave you such a high opinion of men?
Yeah. And lines like this get him laid on the first date. Which is amazing. She falls.
Was he gonna tell her that he loves her the next morning? Because whatever it is, if it's not that, she doesn't want to know.
That's right. Yeah.
I like that part.
That's right. And he goes outside and he sees a weird looking sky, which is kind of referenced a couple times that there are things going on in the sky that are unusual because Professor Miyagi, he looks up at one point and there are these weird shots of like ants.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's ants in his apartment spread from the TV to the rest of the apartment.
Right. Like these ants are really interested in this show about supernovas. And they're just so into it that they actually have to climb into the television set.
Yeah.
But we never actually see him grab a can of Raid or anything. So I guess the ants just hang. He's cool with it. But there are all kinds of things like that. There's like worms living on windows. Yeah. So strange things are happening in the world. The biggest probably strange thing to note, because it comes into play in the story, is that the street people around this church are starting to act very unusual.
Right.
The best way to put it is it seems like they're under the control of something. And they're all acting not unlike the worker ants, which I think is mentioned at one point, that worker ants just sort of move in sort of a hive mentality, right. That they just do the job. And that's what these street people are doing. And the lead, I guess, street person is Alice Cooper, whose company, as I said before, produced Prince of Darkness.
And he got the role. He and Carpenter met at a WrestleMania.
Really?
And he said, I want to be in one of your movies. And Carpenter said, if we can use your impaling gag that you do on stage in the movie, you got it. He said, done.
Yeah.
And they did it.
They did.
That's true.
Yeah. There's a character named Etchison, I think. And he's kind of like the first guy to leave. He's like, I'm getting out of here. But this is before that shit hits the fan.
Murray Basinski from Riptide.
That's right. He's actually done quite a few things. I've seen him.
Nobody ever knows that when I say that. What was that?
Yeah, he's been in a couple TV shows too. I saw him not too long ago on a show. I was like, this guy looks familiar. He's older now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's the guy with the glasses.
Yeah, he does look different now.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's Sir Doc. Yeah, but in this movie he plays this guy Etchison, and he's the first one to kind of to leave the building, and so everyone just thinks he left. They don't realize that he goes out in the alley.
He becomes a unicycle.
He does become a unicycle. Alice Cooper makes him into a uni, and the street people are sort of, keeping step with it. So while all that's going on, you have this group of people. I guess we could kind of go over who all's in the place. They come. The reason they come to the church is because Professor Miyagi and Priest Loomis kind of get together and decide they'll help each other out. So you have the science side and the religious side, and they're going to try and solve this problem. What is this cylinder that's going on? Why is it twirling around? Who lit all these fucking candles?
Yeah.
So they go into the basement, but they set up a bunch of equipment to try and see. And that's when they start carbon dating it, and they X-ray it somehow, and they realize the lid opens from the inside, and that this cylinder isn't actually something that was created to contain the thing so much. It's not a prison. It was actually put here in the cylinder. So the cylinder is not keeping it out. It's just kind of chilling in the cylinder for a while.
And despite the title, Prince of Darkness, it is not Satan inside the cylinder. It is something called the anti-god,
right? Which
is apparently bigger than Satan. Because I guess if you consider Satan was an angel at some point, he was good, I guess, at some point. The anti-god was not, ever. True evil. And this is the son of the anti-god. Got that from the commentary, too. He just kind of made that up.
Yeah, so John Carpenter says
he says that. Yeah, he says, I know that he's come throws people because it's called Prince of Darkness, but it's actually not Satan. So, there you go.
Well, that's because that's not really said in the movie. Well, actually, anti-god is said.
Anti-god is said.
Yeah. But it's not clarified as that much. I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this thing that's in the cylinder is trying to kind of get, or it has decided it's time to come out of the cylinder. Theoretically, because maybe the changes in the earth are a signal, maybe. I don't know. We're not quite sure. Never really says. But I'm just going to say the changes in the earth are maybe a signal that this thing is going to either to the thing that's in the cylinder or a signal because it's coming out. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, the thing does indeed start to come out of the cylinder. And it starts to drip out of the cylinder and collect on the ceiling. Now, something in this movie that I really have always admired is there are effects that are very homemade.
Yeah. Upside down camera.
Yeah. You just build the ceiling on the floor and put a bunch of green liquid and drop it up there and have it drip, and then you just turn the camera upside down. That's pretty brilliant. There is a portal into another dimension in this movie that is done really effectively, but is clearly a very simple effect. Where you just turn the camera sideways, you have a pool of water, you send the light in through an opening, and then you just paint the pool in the black.
Yep.
So there's the light coming through, and it creates this sort of shimmer effect. And so when people put their hand, say, through a mirror, and it's going into this other dimension, you just see a hand being pushed down into water with a camera turned sideways, which you don't get much simpler than that. I mean, but it's really effective.
Yeah. Totally.
It works. There are scenes where, well, before I start jumping ahead to that, I should say that once this stuff starts pooling on the ceiling, one by one, these people will kind of find themselves in a situation where they come face to face with this substance, this creature that's in liquid form. The first person to do that is Kelly, the Kelly character.
She comes from.
Yeah. Oh no, that's Susan.
Susan's the one. Where's Susan? You know, glasses, radiology.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of the movie. Everybody keeps going, where's Susan?
Yeah.
You know, glasses,
radiology. Right.
She's the first one to get it in the mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And so this girl sort of, so she gets the first one, and then when it's inside her, then it starts to kind of go to other people, because then she becomes a pressure washer and she can shoot it out, you know, into someone else's mouth, which is kind of disgusting. So the creature takes possession of you by shooting itself out of someone's mouth into yours. So it's sort of a germaphobe's nightmare.
Yeah.
So beyond the semi-religious apocalypse, the dark dimension that you get through a mirror, you also have this germophobic nightmare that's going on. And Carpenter kind of pushes things. There's a scene where the character Lisa lays down on a cot, and there's this strange sort of lesbian.
You think something.
Yeah, it's like
she's really not reacting.
Yeah.
Right.
And that Susan woman, glasses, radiology, climbs up on top of her and then just shoots the shit in her mouth, and oh my God, that's not sexy at all.
Fantasy over.
Yeah, finished. And then you know, the poor Lisa girl, which she's really cute and she's incredibly smart. She's over here translating ancient texts into English, you know, texts that have been written and then erased and rewritten on top of each other. There are numbers inside this book that they find that are differential equations from written in a time before there was differential equations. So there is this sort of mixture of science and religion that's real interesting. That maybe science came from religion, maybe religion is more scientific than we actually thought. The priest at one point, Father Loomis, says, I love, because some of the stuff is really clearly like John Carpenter speaking through Donald Pleasance. Like, I really think John Carpenter liked to write for Donald Pleasance to say like the really crazy shit that he liked to talk about. Because at one point he goes, religion is just, it's nothing but a stupid lie. And you just go like, John Carpenter straight up was saying that.
Your blind faith and common sense.
Oh,
blind
God.
Faith and common sense.
Blind faith and common sense. And everyone just kind of has to sit there and go, God, this old man's lecturing me again about shit I don't understand. But it's really cool because Donald Pleasance can pull that off. Yeah. I mean, obviously, John Carpenter doesn't write those monologues for him because he can't pull it off. It's because he does it like incredibly well. Who else could do that?
Yeah, so intense with every line.
Yeah, yeah. And he, I guess he is a little bit like Dr. Loomis in this. You know, he's sort of like, what if Dr. Loomis became a priest? Because
I shot the canister 6 times.
6 times. I tell you, this guy, he's not human.
Go on, move.
You don't know what death is. Which all of those lines could be appropriate in this, except for the shot, because there's no gun. There's no gunplay, and there's no guns. There's a lot of wood and beating them over the head with bricks and shit. But these people are kind of stuck without weapons of any sort of sophisticated. You know, if you can't bludgeon, you're fucked. But so one by one, these people start to become possessed by this anti-God, this liquid substance that is trying to find sort of a form.
Is this moving yet?
It does seem to be moving a little bit, yeah.
Are we on Netflix? Is this show on Netflix?
This show that we're doing?
Yeah.
No.
Because
no, we're not on Netflix. No, I don't think Prince of Darkness is on Netflix either. God, Netflix is missing out on all the important shit. Like this show and the movie.
The old school DVD with the paper cover. You know, the plastic snaps out. And
oh, yeah.
No commentary.
Yeah, they didn't do a lot of commentary for Prince.
There's a new one, though. There's a Blu-ray now that's...
and someone was... Oh, is it a new commentary or is it
I don't know. It's probably... Because I listened to a commentary online and I don't know where it came from. It may be... I mean, it's him and Peter Jason.
Because that was
from a long time ago.
Yeah, that was kind of the older one.
2001, I think they did the commentary. It's probably still the same one.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, a movie like Prince of Darkness, no matter how many people like it, and a lot of people actually kind of do, you know, I don't think Universal is falling over themselves to do special editions and commentaries and documentaries and stuff like that. This is more of a film for the fans.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to do Fast and Furious 13 or whatever.
Right, because who cares about a movie that was made, what?
87.
87, so that's 30 years ago?
Yeah.
31 years ago? Jesus Christ, I can't believe it's that old.
I didn't see it when it came out. I probably didn't see it till 92, 93.
Really?
I didn't see it in the theater when it first came out.
Yeah, that was probably around the same time for me. It was pretty
I don't remember the first time I saw it. I really don't. There's a lot of movies like that for me. But I've seen it a lot.
Yeah, I have too. That's the thing, is it's kind of hard to remember the first time.
I don't remember the first time I saw Halloween. It's my favorite movie.
I don't remember.
I saw it way too young. And then I just kept seeing it over and over. And I've seen it a million times now, but I don't remember the first time.
I think the first time I saw, the only thing I can remember the first time really I saw, and this is in terms of like classic horror films, what I would consider like the classic horror films of when I was a kid, was I remember the first time I watched Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. And the reason I think I remember that is I think it was the first horror movie I ever watched.
I think I have two, and I don't know which one came first. Well, three. I have three movies that I remember, and either one of these could have been first. Phantasm, Burnt Offerings, and Prom Night. I remember all three of those when I was way too young to watch them. I was staying up late at night, and but I don't know which one was first. But those are the first three horror movies that I remember.
Yeah, Phantasm. That'd be a good one to have a discussion about.
And I used to get Burnt Offerings and Phantasm mixed up as I got older. I was like, because you didn't have a video,
right?
And I thought the little dwarf things running in the cemetery, I thought that was in Burnt Offerings, and it was Phantasm. Or are there some of those in Burnt Offerings? There's something weird. Is there a cemetery in Burnt Offerings? See, now I don't know.
Well, there's the funeral there's the funeral flashback in Burnt Offerings.
Yeah.
Because you see the cemetery in that. I don't think there's.
But remember the little things hiding behind tombstones?
Yeah. I don't know. I
used to get the two mixed up like I'm doing now.
Well, the house sort of looks the same in both. Yeah. It's, that house, I could see that was definitely the mortuary in Phantasm and the house in Burnt Offerings. But yeah, we should definitely do one on Phantasm. That'd be a good one.
I probably came to Prince of Darkness because of Alice Cooper, to be honest, because I was more of a music guy in high school. So
do you think you watched this movie because Alice Cooper was in it? Was that the first time you watched it?
They used to, posters of it would have him on it, which is stupid. There were posters with him on the cover.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
And I remember thinking, this must be a heavy metal movie. I'm in. I wasn't like a Carpenter fanboy yet. I mean,
which it is kind of metal, the movie.
Yeah. So I don't know, possibly.
Because once this movie gets rolling, I mean, it gets rolling and doesn't really stop. I mean, once that first little, pressure washer jet of nasty shit goes in the mouth.
What this movie gets right from the beginning through the end is building dread. It just starts off with the music when there's nothing going on, and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And you just get that feeling like this is the end of the world. There's even if they get out of here, what are they going to do? It's like escaping's not even a solution.
Yeah.
You got to do something with this thing,
And this was the middle chapter in Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy.
Right.
And to me, this is almost the most apocalyptic in the sense that you're really watching the world end.
Definitely.
Kind of the thing was a potential apocalypse that you can see sort of maybe happening.
But it seems so much more isolated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not about what's happening with the world. LA. Right. Downtown LA. And then In the Mouth of Madness it's apocalyptic. It certainly gets apocalyptic by the end, but you know, I don't really think of it as apocalyptic like Prince of Darkness. Right. But what happens with Prince of Darkness eventually is you have the kind of the Night of the Living Dead thing, where the group, the ones that don't die, are kind of separated. So everyone's doing their own thing, trying to survive. Dennis Dunn gets caught in a closet at one point and does a comedy routine for something. Right. Yeah, they try to break him out. They're on the other side of the wall, and they're trying to dig through the wall, and they say, "Oh, it'll take a couple hours." Yeah. And like the next night, there's still like a hole, like it's just about that big, you know. It's like they're really.
Every time I watch that, I'm like, has another day already gone by? It's already night again.
Yeah, there's a really fast day that passes.
You think the day comes, you think, oh, well, they made it through the night, everything's gonna be all right, but then it's night again.
Yeah,
almost immediately.
That every time I laughed every time at that couple hours line, because you know that like they must not have really been wanting to get Dennis Dunn out of there. But Walter is his name of the story. But
God, man, when Kelly looks over at him.
Yeah. Right. Because
fantastic makeup.
Kelly is, well, what happens basically is all that shit that was downstairs in the candle room eventually gets into a room where they have cots set up, and they're kind of sleeping in there. And everyone has been taken over except for like your core group. Kelly, at one point, this character Kelly lays down and takes a nap and doesn't wake up from it because
Lisa and Susan wheel the canister into the room.
And then all the stuff spills out onto the ceiling and then spills straight down into Kelly's mouth and eye holes.
Yes.
And basically gives her a big engorged pregnant belly full of nasty devil juice.
Quick.
Very quick. And kills the Kelly persona, and then becomes, all that stuff is absorbed into her body and turns her into this nasty looking, bloody,
just horrific,
just really scary, like the kind of thing you definitely don't want to wake up to at night, which is funny because the character actually does wake up to that at one point later on. But and then at that point, the Prince of Darkness, the anti-god, has a physical form, and it's hanging out inside Kelly. But apparently what it needs a physical form for is so it can go over to a mirror and activate a portal to bring its father through.
But a little compact is not going to work.
No, because she does.
It's too small.
She does try that.
It's too small.
Someone, we don't know who, dropped their compact on the floor. And Kelly tries to kind of put, well, the demon Kelly, tries to put her little finger through and say, "Hey, Dad, can you come through here?"
Dad can't get through there.
Dad is a big dude. He looks, you just see him in glimpses, but he kind of looks like Tim Curry in Legend.
He's got that big hamburger helper hand.
Yeah, it's Tim Curry. It's Darkness from Legend. It's exactly what it seems to look like. Because we only really see his hand. We see a glimpse of him in the doorway during. Oh, well, let's talk about this dream, because we haven't mentioned the dream at all, because that's a pretty important part of the story.
Yeah, so everyone in close proximity to this receives this tachyon transmission, which is a warning from the future. That I always forget who that is, who's warning.
Yes, someone in the future is apparently sending a video signal, but it's not strong enough to reach your conscious mind.
Right.
So they send it via tachyon beam, which is, a tachyon is an actual concept. It's a theoretical concept in quantum physics, where if you could get particles to travel faster than light, they would go back in time. Right. We won't get too much into the quantum physics thing, because that could take forever. But there's a lot of quantum physics in this movie, which is really cool, because the combination of that and like old school devil horror is, I don't know why, that's just really fascinating.
I guess you could still be using VHS in 1999 to send the message back. I mean, they did have DVD then, but
yeah, because it is definitely like a VHS quality dream.
Yeah.
Again, if you fall asleep around this thing, you're gonna have this dream, and the dream kind of unfolds. You'll get the first little part, and then next time you'll get a little more, and next time you'll get a little more, and there's a voice speaking through static, who's showing you a video image of something happening in the future, and then trying to tell you, okay, let's try and keep this from not happening. We're broadcasting this from the year 1999. Right, which at that time was like the distant future.
Yeah.
We're talking about the millennium.
Yeah, my Prince.
Hell yeah. Let's party like it's Prince of Darkness, bitch. But what happens then is you see an image of the outside of the church that they're all trapped in, and you see a light source coming from inside this door, and you see this very large silhouetted figure coming out of the church. And so that's what we're trying to prevent. And then near the end of the movie, when Demon Kelly activates the mirror portal, you realize, well, what they're trying to prevent is this thing coming through. And, I just thought of something. Maybe that image that they're transmitting from the future, maybe it was taken in 1987 when it came out of the church that night.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then they just transmitted it.
Because it's Catherine coming out of the church at the end.
That's right.
And she's trapped in the other realm.
Yeah, well, how that happens, well, we'll get into how that happens. But yeah, well, eventually what happens is you have Demon Kelly in that room over there. You got Loomis losing his mind, per usual, in the corner. And
praying way too loud.
Yeah, because there's this huge guy named Calder who's standing in the room with,
great character, with
Loomis. And and for some reason, Loomis thinks that this dude who's standing 5 feet away can't hear him praying as loud as possible. I guess he's hoping that God can, will take this large man away, this large giggling, he's sweating almost as much as I am right now. Do you want to talk about Calder? I know you like Calder.
Calder's great, man.
Calder is a cool character.
Yeah, that laugh, and I get, he's got a cross on, so he's obviously a Christian, and
he sings Amazing Grace.
And so
good voice.
As soon as he at some point he realizes what's happened to him, and he tries to kill himself. He takes breaks off a piece of the staircase, and but doesn't die.
No, he comes back.
He tries, but he comes back.
Comes back as a minion of the anti-god with all the rest of the people, and kind of razzles Brian out in the hallway, because Brian is trying to hold him back. Loomis is cutting off the arm of Demon Kelly, and it's growing back like she's a fucking worm or something. He cuts off her head too, and she just takes it, and she's like, and then this whole time, her papa is trying to come through the mirror portal, and Catherine. So you got Brian with his crooked mustache is razzling.
He needs Rick Simon.
He does.
Charlie McRaney.
He's razzling Calder out in the hallway, which, it's not a very fair fight because Calder is huge.
Yeah. Wow.
And he's just throwing Brian Marsh around like he's a little bitch.
But man, has Brian got some reflexes, because when Peter Jason's character tries to throw up in his mouth, he's
That's right, he does, and he just whacks him with this piece of wood with a nail stuck through it, and knocks Peter Jason's ass out. And Peter Jason is down for the well. He does kind of come up. Well, wait, just for a second. He grabs at Catherine as she passes, but he's pretty much down for the count after that. He's like, I tried to spit up in his mouth, and the guy knocked me out. I'm ashamed. I'm going to stay down here on the floor.
Father is not happy.
That's right. So Catherine is watching all this happen. Dennis Dunn, Walter, is just fucking, he's staying in the other room. He's like, I'm not dealing with this. Like, I just got attacked by 2 women in a closet, and I had to climb through a hole in the wall. You guys can take it from here. But while all this is happening, Catherine is sort of the audience at that point. You're seeing all this madness through her eyes. She sees Crooked Stash wrestling with the big guy. She sees Loomis cutting off this demon chick's head, and the girl put it back on. And then this thing starts to come back, and then Tim Curry in Legend starts to come through the mirror. And that's when Catherine runs and grabs the anti-god from behind, and they both go through the mirror. Yeah, they fall into the alternate dimension. And the priest, being as sympathetic a fucking Catholic as possible, throws this axe and just traps Catherine's ass. And
that shot of her floating away is the best.
That is awesome. Yeah, because she's reaching for the light, like hoping someone will, care about her since she just saved the world. And no one cares. He just breaks the mirror and traps her in the dark dimension.
Brian would have cared. He was in the hall.
Yeah, he was down on the ground with the guy on top of him, and he actually has a reaction when he sees this, because he knows Catherine's fucked when that mirror breaks and it's over, because they are in love. They had their one night standing.
True love.
Yeah, and it was destroyed by a priest. Wasn't the first time that happened. God, the Catholics are going to love me after this video. but anyway, so the surviving people are Professor Miyagi, Father Priest Loomis, Brian. Dennis Dunn climbs out the window and he's like, "Fuck this shit," and he runs off down the alley.
Millionaire at 40.
He probably was a millionaire at 40, and but he does bring the police, because when the police arrive, he's with them. So maybe he ran off to get the cops. We'll just say that. Does anybody else survive? That's it, right? I don't think. And then at the end, what happens at the end of the movie is you just have Brian laid out, and he has a dream of that transmission, but it goes all the way through this time, and you find out that Catherine, who was banished to the dark dimension, is the person that comes through the door in the future that ends the world.
And then he has another dream.
Yeah, and then he wakes up, and this fucking slab of meat's laying next to him, and he screams. He's like, "What the hell?" And I guess it happens really quick, but I think that's Catherine, right? Because it looks like she has red hair. Yeah. And Kelly had blonde hair.
I didn't know that until I don't know where I found that out. I read that somewhere. I always thought it was just Kelly.
Yeah.
And because he's just dreaming, so it could be her.
See, that's what I thought.
But yeah, I've read that it's Catherine.
Yeah. Because honestly, I rewatched this movie last night, and that's the first time I noticed she had red hair. As many times as I've watched this movie. Yeah. I'm like, wait a second.
There's always something. I always see something that I didn't notice before.
And then he obviously knows it's Catherine, because he has this reaction and wakes up, and you realize he's just had a dream within a dream, and he gets up and he looks in the mirror.
So what is he doing? So what is he trying to do when he reaches the mirror? Is he trying to go through? Is he trying to see if he can pull her through?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's one of those great ambiguous endings, because he gets up, he walks to the mirror, and he puts his hand out toward the mirror like he's reaching toward his own reflection or toward the mirror, because it's a portal.
But before he gets there,
the movie ends. Yeah. So what happens when he touches the mirror? Is it just a mirror, or does a crazy fucking meat hook hand come out of the mirror?
We'll see what we'll see.
And we'll just have to figure that out for ourselves.
Sit here and see what happens.
Right. And we'll have to sit here with that cylinder spinning back there and think about what John Carpenter has left us with, which is a pretty awesome movie, I think.
I love it.
I do too. Great score. Great
cast. It's one of those scores that's not really songs. It's just a constant, underlying theme that keeps going. But
that's right. Because I think the only song you hear is on Etchison's Walkman. Yeah. And it's an Alice Cooper song. Right. Which makes sense. Yep. Perfect amount of sense there.
Shep Gordon. Yeah. Shep Gordon at work.
Mm-hmm. It's like, by God, Alice.
I might get a new Alice Cooper song in here, one way or another.
I'm surprised that Alice wasn't in They Live. Yeah. As well, because same production. Because I don't know how many pictures this was. They only actually made 2 movies, Alive and Alive Films and John Carpenter. Mm-hmm. They made Prince of Darkness, and then they made They Live. And theoretically, they were going to make at least one more, because usually these things are like a 3-picture deal. Mm-hmm. And I think the deal was that Carpenter could have total creative control as long as he didn't go over like $4 million, mm-hmm. which
he did $3 million.
I mean, honestly, I would take that. I'd take that deal.
Yeah.
I mean, and then he made 2 movies that are very well known, and two of kind of his best movies in a lot of people's eyes.
What was the budget on They Live? Was it?
I think it was the same. Yep, I think it was the same. Which they got a lot out of that movie. Yeah. For $3 million. They got a lot out of this movie.
I'm not a big fan of They Live.
Really?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. It just I don't know.
Just not your cup of
tea. It's okay. It's just definitely not one of my favorites.
Were you a wrestling fan at all?
When I was a kid, until I was about 12. I loved it until I was about 12, and then I just kind of.
Because something I've discovered about conventions is that horror people a lot of horror fans love wrestling, professional wrestling, and they love Rowdy Piper because he was in. Because that movie sort of blended the 2 worlds so perfectly.
Well, when I say I love wrestling, when I was a kid, it was local wrestling. It was Dothan.
Ah, like the
like Mr. Olympia, Austin Idol, Lord Humongous.
Gotcha.
All those guys, the Armstrongs, Tennessee Stud.
The guys down at the Armory.
Yeah, it was at the Dothan Farm Center.
That
I used to go every Saturday night. That when I'd go stay with my dad, we would go to wrestling every weekend. And yeah, for about 2 years, I loved it. I was just all about it. And
I love you can get those local people and you get those little old ladies that really get into that shit.
yeah.
They're like, kill him, break his neck,
Oh, my dad thought it was hilarious.
knock his
He
teeth
would
out.
just sit there and laugh. He's just so stupid.
Yeah.
Especially they had a gay wrestler, Adrian Street, come out with a pink feather boa on and just prance around. My dad would just be in stitches. He just thought he was so funny.
Oh wow.
He'd kiss the referees and stuff.
Yeah. And they were like, oh, don't kiss me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's some great shtick. That's the best thing about that kind of stuff. You know, it's a hell of a show when you can do it well at professional wrestling.
Well, I've got a message for you.
What's that?
L.C.Holt, and you're not going to like it. But we're at the end of the movie.
We are at the end of the movie. Yeah. But so I had a pretty good time talking about the movie. And we should probably wrap it up before that thing decides to open itself, because I hear it opens from the inside. Have you heard any dripping noises? I don't think I have. But I really don't want to get spit up in my mouth. So, because that would fucking suck. And there was something I sent to you. Shudder.
Oh, yeah.
Has announced that they might be producing with John Carpenter a television series based on Prince of Darkness. I kind of have to reserve judgment because other than the idea that they're going to do it, I don't know anything about it.
Right.
I can think of other John Carpenter movies that would probably be more suited to a continuing series. I think They Live actually makes sense completely as a series. But I was mentioning to Shane before the show, we went on air with the show, that maybe the Brotherhood of Sleep could be the angle you could use for a Prince of Darkness ongoing series. Like finding out, because by the time the movie happens, there apparently is only one living member of the Brotherhood of Sleep, and he survives for about 15 seconds.
And they've been watching this thing for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you could maybe, if you didn't do the thing where people are stuck in one location, I don't see how you can do that as a series. But if you took the Brotherhood of Sleep approach, maybe, you know, I guess you could always just do like the Friday the 13th, the series thing, where it's nothing to do with, you know, you just use the title.
That's probably what they'll do.
And I wouldn't be surprised. Just have some kind of Prince of Darkness in the show.
Again, the thing about the movie is the dread, the constant dread. I don't know. They would ruin that in a show.
Yeah.
I just know it.
Yeah. So
they always do.
It didn't really fill me with a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, it was like the other thing this week where, I don't know if I should get into this, but I'll just throw it out there. It was sort of like the Joaquin Phoenix photo as the Joker, where I was just kind of like, you know, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Can't wait. So we'll see how Prince of Darkness, the series goes.
I know so little about comic book world, movies, whatever, that I just thought that was a meme. People were just sitting around. I didn't know they were
it's
making
a
movie.
Mm-hmm.
Another movie.
Robert De Niro is in it.
Mm.
Martin Scorsese is producing it.
Oh.
Todd Phillips is directing it. Todd Phillips,
Really?
you know, yeah. It's very unusual. And Joaquin Phoenix is playing the Joker.
Heard Martin Quatermass wrote it.
Yeah, Quatermain. I love Quatermain. But anyway, so yeah, now that we've reached the end of our Prince of Darkness discussion, we will leave you guys for this week. But me and Shane, I'm sure, will be doing more of these film discussions, and I hope you enjoyed this one. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. There'll be more film discussions and more interviews coming up soon. You will not be saved. You will not be saved. There is no way that you'll be saved. Goodbye.
I live.
All right, Shane. Well, thanks for joining me, buddy.
Yes, sir.
And we will see you all again later. Take care.